I just got the tweet notification from Jack because this tweet's from his account. I was like, oh my God, he's up.
That'd be so clutch if he just showed up right at the buzzer.
Good morning, everybody. We're here a little late, and we have a loss to talk about again. This is the first time we've done 2 Talkin seasons in a row, it feels like. I guess early this month I lost 2 games in a row, too. But it doesn't – these ones, they sting a bit more. It sucks.
Yeah, it's a rarity for sure. And look, there were a lot of Celtics fans that wanted to see them respond to what happened on Monday by just beating the brakes off the Hawks, that you come out and you throttle them from the opening tip and don't take your foot off the gas. But this is a team that, look, we said it after Monday. Maybe it changes because of what unfolded. Maybe it changes going into Saturday's game against the Pelicans because of what we're about to talk about. But they have decided to flip the switch down in regards to defense and trying to keep teams off the glass. They have accomplished, I know they haven't locked up the 1 seed for the NBA yet, but they probably will, you would think. And so they really feel like they've accomplished everything they need to. They're ready for the playoffs, and they have shut it down. And so we'll see what happens on Saturday, but it was not the response their fans wanted. But there's only so much stock you can put in it when you see the reality of how the team is treating it.
It's true. And the thing that sucks about yesterday is, like you said, I think everybody was like, hey, they're going to come out and just beat the brakes off them. Atlanta, not a good team. The spread before yesterday's game was minus 16.5 for the Celtics. They were overwhelmingly favored. Everybody thought they were going to come out. They finally had the starting 5 back. Drew Holiday's back in the lineup with Derek White, the Jays, and Porzingis. Yet they never really looked dominant yesterday. I think you could put some stock into, hey, Holiday hasn't played in a while. They're integrating him back in the lineup. Maybe it's a little bit awkward, but overall, I don't think we saw the Celtics' best punch at all yesterday. And kind of sucks because it was a spot for the big punch. It was a spot. Hey, Atlanta's been relishing in this massive comeback. They made a fool out of you on Monday. Everybody talked about it. And the response was, hey, we're just not going to try on the glass. And we're going to give up 1 billion offensive rebounds, and Atlanta's going to score almost 30 second chance points. That's why they lost yesterday. And it didn't help that we got another look at late game execution, and it didn't go well. It was a huge redemption spot. It was almost like Hollywood written, hey, they failed 2 days ago. Time to redeem. Kind of did, but didn't. Ultimately, they still lost, and it sucked. Absolutely sucked. I know you have it on the sheet. Losing back-to-back sucks. And it makes the team look bad. So how much stock do you put in getting swept by the Hawks?
Well, it's something we just talked about before the show started, that there's certainly things to put stock in. And one of them we will get to, that you wrote an article on and everyone should go check out over at Celtics blog, related to second chance opportunities and struggling to keep an opponent off the glass. The other one is that I think what we're seeing is that the term crunch time is too broad when addressing the Celtics' issues down the stretch, because for the most part, they got good looks. Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and Drew Holiday all missed at the basket, for example, in crunch time. But that final minute when things really slow down, and then you have Jason Tatum dribbling the air out of the ball while everyone's watching, and eventually Wesley Matthews fouls him, and then what comes next is Tatum taking an off-balance fadeaway 3 with 2 defenders contesting. Those are the type of looks where it just feels like we might as well just go to overtime and fast forward, because this shot is not going in and we're just wasting everyone's time.
The Tatum buzzer beater fadeaway will be there no matter what. It's just always there. Do we put stock into them losing back-to-back? A little bit. Like you said, we kind of discussed this before we went on. It's not great when a team beats the Celtics twice and other teams can be like, what did they do that really helped them beat up on the Celtics? Well, they did a great job of out-rebounding them. They kept the games close. And once the Celtics get in close games, the fans certainly don't believe in them. Does the team lack confidence in close games now? I don't know if I would go that far, but it doesn't look fantastic. The numbers aren't great. Bobby Manning tweeted it today. They're 4-8 anytime that there's 1 minute or less left and the game is decided by 1 point. It's awful. And anytime it comes back to the final buzzer, they're 2-7. It's not reliable. The playoffs are not going to be a cakewalk. There are other good teams, despite the Celtics being better than those teams. you're probably going to have to play some close games. The reason they didn't make the finals last year is because they didn't win close games. They lost game 1 and game 2 to Miami at the Garden, and those games ended up being close. Game 6, they barely won, and that was one that was close. They needed a miracle shot by Derek White to go in for them to win that. If they could just play better down the stretch, we would all have a lot less stress when it comes to this team. It's just simple. So seeing Atlanta beat them twice, Atlanta, who's not a good team, Atlanta, who doesn't have Trae Young, who doesn't have Jalen Johnson, and they just beat you twice. That's terrible. And they don't even have Okongwu.
Yeah,
they are injury riddled.
I fell for the pump fake there, Sam.
Yeah, it was inadvertent. I didn't mean it.
It's all good. Put that one on me. But look, if they were better in crunch time, then I think most people would have them over as favorites over the Nuggets, despite Denver being the defending champions. We've seen them check every single box, but not the case. You mentioned the 4-8 record in the final minute of games within 1 point. And so it's a question of how many times, how large does the sample size have to grow for them to change their approach? And again, specifically within the final minute or so of tightly contested matchups, because otherwise, if it's not going to change, and it's going to be a lot of Tatum has the ball up top and he's just dribble, and everyone else is watching for the most part, then you just don't expect those looks to go in, especially when you add that they don't want to challenge the defense and try to get downhill for fear of a turnover. So now you know what's coming. The defense knows what's coming, and it's probably not going to go through the net. That's a huge issue right there. And the other team is going to get a better look in the final minute of these games. So if you're the Celtics and there's no change coming, then really their best bet is to avoid these situations as much as possible. And teams have done that en route to lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy before. It's not some fantasy scenario, especially when you have the most talented top 6 in the league. But how often can they do that against the teams that they will draw in a tough, competitive Eastern Conference? We're going to find out, I guess.
The interesting part of all this clutch time stuff is there are the raw numbers. It's like, hey, they really, really suck when it's close, under a minute. But Greeny from Barstool has been the biggest defend the wall guy with this team in terms of they're actually not that bad in the clutch. So he tweeted some stuff out. I was just curious what he had to say yesterday, because he usually has something to try and put the flames out just a little bit, just to be like, hey, everyone, like, don't panic fully. So yesterday they had 124 offensive rating in the clutch. Actually, I'm sorry, across both games, which isn't that bad. They shot 43% from the field, 33% from 3. The defense was the real problem. They allowed 50% and 54.5% shooting with 5 offensive rebounds. And then he tweeted out the clutch time shooting stats this year. Tatum is 36%, not good. Jalen 50%. Derek White 53%. Kristaps 56%. Drew Holiday 47%. Literally everybody not named Tatum is pretty good at it. He's just really not great at it. Thanks, Timo.
Yeah, I also think that it's worth noting that the percentages look different. So when you register, okay, what's the league average in these situations? It's just harder to score in crunch time, especially the further down towards the buzzer that you get. And then you understand that Tatum is the one shooting almost always in the final minute, the most difficult looks, and what those look like for the Celtics. So you understand and expect that his percentage is going to be the worst of the bunch.
It's true. The question is, why does he keep getting them? I mean, Jalen mentioned it yesterday. He says the Celtics are settling too much at the end of crunch time. It feels like that. Mazzulla came out after the game and was like, hey, when we get Tatum the final shot, I feel like that's a good shot. We say, Tatum, you go ahead and create something and we'll live with it. It's pretty much what Mazzulla told reporters after the game. How can this team be so mathematically based? They love math. They talk about the 2-for-1. They shoot all the threes. How can they rely on that? The numbers don't back up Tatum in the clutch at all. There's no problem with having the team use him as a weapon, but the team at this point is just too good. They are. They have too many good players. They have too many guys that can make big shots. for Tatum to have the ball, dribbling the air out of it, like you said, every single time. Every time. Rui in the chat saying they need to mix up. It's facts. And they did. They actually did. In overtime, the Jalen shot came off something they actually ran. They gave Porzingis the ball in the post, which I begged for. They found Jalen on the elbow, which is his wheelhouse of shooting. Like, I compared it to when Paul Pierce was with the Celtics and you could rely on him to make big shots. He would get to that zone, the half circle above the free throw line, and you could trust him to put the ball in the basket. It doesn't matter that it's not a layup. That's his layup. Jalen shoots like 60% from that area. Him getting a jumper there is just fine, even though it wasn't the prettiest look.
Yeah, that's one of my two favorite plays that the Celtics ran really all night, but especially if you look at crunch time and extend it from regulation to the fifth frame there, where that play, what I love about it in particular is it wasn't the initial action. That got blown up. They get it to Porzingis. First, it goes wrong immediately because he catches it further out than intended. Then the Hawks blow up their attempt to get Jason Tatum cutting to the basket for a layup, and that's not available. So now you need to go to a second option, and you're behind the eight ball, so to speak. And what are they able to do? A nice lead pass from Porzingis to Jaylen Brown off the move, who makes himself available. And look, it's a tough shot, but like you said, he's been a mid-range maestro all season, and really for most of his career, he's been highly effective from that area on the floor. So he gets himself square, he's balanced, he elevates, knocks it down. That's exactly what you want to see right there. And props to Bobby Manning. He asked Joe Mazzulla about the difference in Tatum at the end of regulation versus that opportunity, and Joe Mazzulla pointed to your favorite thing, Sam, the 2-for-1 situation, given the time and score and the difference in both instances. Still, though, I think the Celtics don't have to be resigned to just Tatum dribble, fade away three from the wing. And it's just a question of how many times do they need to see it to change it? Because if it's the same as what we've gotten so far, come these opportunities in the playoffs, you expect either the game to extend if it's tied or that they just lost because of a low percentage look.
It's true. I mean, I was on Reddit this morning and the Tatum miss was like a huge hit in the NBA subreddit. Like everyone was like, this is awesome. But everyone in the comments is like, does anybody actually think this is going in ever? The answer is no. As soon as he gets the ball with like the clock ticking down, it's like, okay, like you said, it's either going to overtime or they're going to lose. I have no faith in him putting the ball in the basket for a game winner anymore, unless it's like a layup. They just don't go in right now. I don't know if he's in his head. He had a quote after the game that was like, I've missed him all year. I have to be due, as if he's putting parlays into his sports book. Like, him talking about a game-winning attempt shouldn't feel like you're talking about sports betting, where you feel like you're just due, so you have to keep doing it. The shots he's getting are just not good looks. He hasn't been good on those follow-away threes out of bounds. It's not a look I want to see him take ever, never mind with the game on the line. It's horrible. How did Mazzulla talk about the 2-for-1 in this situation where they're just trying to win the game? That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, he referenced it. I'll see if I transcribed it, but that's what he pointed to. Whether I'm able to pull up the quote or not, that is what he cited as the difference in when he went to getting it to Porzingis there in the post and Jaylen Brown's make compared to Tatum at the end of the game. And just, one being tied an opportunity at the end of regulation compared to overtime when they were down and trying to preserve the chance for two possessions. And by the way, the play in overtime, it didn't develop that quickly.
Correct. Coffee and Donuts in the chat saying Tatum is no leader. He's no Paul Pierce. When JT has the ball in the last minute of the game, I fully expect him to miss 9 out of 10 times. ISO ball is trash. Why are we married to no defense in ISO ball? So he's right. The defense is trash. I just read the stats of it. Not good. Paul Pierce was scoring off isolations in the clutch, though, too. So it looks a lot better when the ball's going in the basket. And I don't know if I hate the idea.
I know what you're looking at.
We have a surprise guest coming in soon here.
We need entrance music.
Yeah, we do. But seriously, like, if the ball goes in, it looks good. It just sucks when, like, he misses every single time. And it sucks even worse when the team's really good, so there's no excuse for just giving him the ball when there's a chance to win the game no matter what. Like, I don't know. Jalen made 2 big shots yesterday. I trust Porzingis to do Nerf ball from the free throw line, just turn and shoot with one hand over somebody. Like, I think that's a fine shot. I don't really know if I need to see Tatum dribble. I get if you're trying to milk the clock completely, dribbling it out, but there still should be some like time frame where you're like, okay, time to go, time to start the offense, time to run something instead of just dribbling until there's absolutely no time left because it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I still think it's an opportunity for them to draw two defenders and create a numbers advantage. I mean, if you run a Tatum Porzingis pick and roll up top in the middle of the floor, how does the defense respond to that? Because it feels like no matter what, there's a counter that's going to suggest the Celtics are in an advantageous situation now to play out of. So again, I just don't understand why they continue to resign themselves to that. And then maybe we should wait for Jack to segue into another topic, but at least we can start right now, Sam, because something else I want to get into that relates to the question, how much stock do you put into this loss? I think a better way that we could phrase it is, what do you put stock in from this loss with the playoffs in mind? And Joe Mazzulla talked about that he felt comfortable with Kristaps Porzingis switching on to DeJounte Murray. The Hawks attacked that relentlessly, often with success, especially in overtime. And Mazzulla said, look, we're going to need to get those reps going into the playoffs, that 1 through 5 where everyone's switching and Porzingis is finding himself on a point guard. And if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, for example, you're licking your lips to steal from Shaq. That's barbecue chicken right there. Kristaps on Damian Lillard. And so the only hope in those situations is KP keeps Lillard off the 3-point line, and then the Celtics don't foul or end up in rotation and collapsing and giving up a kick out 3 to someone else. But one, maybe they should have got more reps of it over the course of the season until now. 2, getting those reps at a time when people have stopped playing defense and are waiting for the playoffs. That's not ideal. And 3, I think that, maybe they should try to avoid those situations, because if they go to it against teams in the playoffs that have elite scoring guards off the bounce, like a Damian Lillard, that's advantage Milwaukee right there.
It definitely can pick on with the Celtics. What I put stock in from this law or this pair of losses is probably, I guess, in an ironic way, Mazzulla's commitment to the bit. He's talked time and time again about, hey, we're going to use the end of the season to kind of mix things up, try things out. And he pointed to yesterday as an example of that, using Porzingis in that 1 through 5 switch was kind of a funny way of him telling the media, hey, we weren't trying. Don't worry about this. He pulled the old Xbox excuse, when you lose to your friend. Yeah, I wasn't even trying, so don't worry about it. Doesn't count. I still just put a lot of weight into them not being great in close games. It sucks. Again, yesterday was a big redemption spot. Like, it was a big get right moment for them, and they didn't really do it. They were better. There was growth, but they still didn't win the game. They didn't get a rebound at the end of regulation, which could have iced it. They didn't even need to have Tatum fall out of bounds. If they just finished off that defensive possession, they would have been just fine. But instead, they continued to do what they've done all year, grab just over 50% of the rebounds anytime the game is within 3 points with under a minute to go. And that trend has cost them. I think they've lost 7 games, I counted today, in situations where they could have put themselves in a better position to win had they grabbed a defensive rebound and gotten a stop at the end of games. Because you mentioned you don't feel super confident in them getting stops. That's part of it. Like, if you're sitting there sweating a stop and then you're giving them another opportunity on top of it, it sucks. It sucks to watch. Denver, when they were playing Denver here and they were playing Denver away, they were doing anything to get a stop. And in both of those games, they gave up crucial offensive rebounds, and it's why they lost. It didn't help they couldn't put the ball in the basket here, but the rebounding is going to be important.
Yeah, it's huge. And look, it's one thing for DeJounte Murray to miss short on what's really an air ball from the corner. That's difficult you just kind of have to be in the right position. And when you end up, it's DeAndre Hunter against Derek White elevating for the ball. You would expect Atlanta to get that, and they did. And then you got to look at the breakdowns that allowed for Bogdanovich to be wide open for the game tying 3 there. So that one, it's kind of just bad luck. And then you question, okay, was someone in a spot they weren't supposed to be? And that's what led to the defensive breakdown after the rebound. Other than that, though, I look at in particular a team like the Pacers and the Hawks and what they've done, where the Celtics are switching and they are relentlessly cutting to the basket and finding themselves, what up, Jack Simone?
Hello.
Good
You
morning,
want to
Jack.
know about the worst part about this one? I woke up 2 separate times this morning in a panic that I was late. I woke up at 8:30 thinking it was past 11, and I woke up at 10 thinking it was past 11, and it didn't matter.
How did you not
Didn't
get up
matter.
at 10?
I was like, okay, I have 3 more minutes. I was like, I can sleep.
I'd want to maximize sleep. What time did you go to sleep?
I'm exhausted. Late.
Yeah, see, that's why you don't get up at 10. You need your brain needs to
exhausted.
recharge.
No, I understand why Jack sleeps in, and I'm not even giving him a hard time about it. I just, I'm like the kind of person I'm like, oh, okay, like whatever. If I wake up naturally, like,
No,
I'm good.
If I wake up, like, I'm still exhausted. So I'm like, okay, I have a little bit more time. It was bad.
All right, Jack, why don't
I
we?
wasn't even close this time, so I'm sorry, guys. I always feel like
All right,
I
time
can't
for
swear,
trivia.
but
What's the
apologies.
question?
Yeah, this is going to be, we're going to have to stall for you to come up with another
no.
gem.
I can come up with something in like 2 seconds.
No, we have plenty more to talk about. I'm just teasing.
There's a lot of meat on the bone.
You doubt my ability to come up with something quickly. Never doubt me.
So I'll circle back here, and then we can always get to topics that we've rehashed. But just to put a bow on the current discussion, Sam, I look at it and say, if these teams are having so much success getting in advantageous positions where the Celtics are switching and then they're just cutting to the basket, and all of a sudden it feels like every rebound is going to them, that's something that requires cleanup. And I think that's easier said than done in those moments. So we'll see what happens here, but it's definitely something, if you're looking to win on the margins against Boston in the playoffs, then you're looking to say, okay, how can we apply that in a way that suits us to take advantage of what they do defensively?
The focus is brutal, because I think that's where it all comes back to. If you want to talk about the rebounding, focus. People aren't boxing out. Porzingis is getting switched on to DeJounte Murray. Somebody else is going to have to rebound. He's on the perimeter. You got to rebound as a team. You have several guys that can do it. Some of these other losses where they lost on the offensive glass, Cleveland, Dean Wade gets a cutting putback dunk because Drew Holiday didn't box him out. There was a putback dunk Aaron Gordon had in Denver because somebody didn't box him out. A lot of these are them just not paying attention. The same can be said for some of the defensive lapses, DeJounte Murray being open in the overtime period, which was also off an offensive rebound, but he was still open. After scoring all the points and taking all the shots, that was the guy they decided to leave open. In offense, you can point to focus there too when it's just the same thing every single time. It's like, maybe buckle down. Maybe get a better shot. Maybe do something different.
I mean, I don't know how much I missed and if you guys covered this already, but I wrote about it for Celtics blog this morning. Like, it's tough for me to decipher what of this is going to carry over to the playoffs, because like the effort issue of not boxing out and not like getting back to your guys, like they're going to try harder in the playoffs. I said this to Sam last night and he laughed because it's a funny sentence, but it makes sense. Like, these guys don't care right now. They just don't. And you can see that in the way they're playing. And it's not fun to watch right now. It's not fun to watch them play. Like Ben is saying, it's hard to watch. It's not a fun time to watch this Celtics play right now, but they don't care. Like, these games mean nothing to them. And it's kind of like when you're a senior in high school and you don't have any work left and you have like a week left until you're free for the summer. What are you trying for? There's no reason left for you to try. There's no reason left for you to give. Well, it's exactly what's happening. It's like senioritis for the Celtics. It's playoff-itis, whatever you want to call it, right? They just don't care. And you can say Nemi or Brissett, yeah, sure, I understand. But the reality is the guys on the court can get those rebounds. They can make those defensive rotations. They can do these things. They're just lagging behind because their minds are in the postseason right now. And I truly believe that's what's happening. The only thing you can take away, in my opinion, from these games now is the late game offense, because that is something that can carry over to the playoffs, and that is still something that's a problem.
Well, so Jack, and that's how the way we've addressed this is not how much stock do you put in what's happened in Atlanta, but what do you put stock in with the playoffs in mind? And so the crunch time offense, look, we've dissected that. You can go to every Talkin C's this week. You can go to How About Them Celtics. You can go to Celtics of the Round Table. You know, we've really hit on that, including in today's episode at length. Another topic, though, that we just got into before you jumped on, how much stock do you put in Joe Mazzulla saying we wanted to get reps with Kristaps Porzingis out there when we're switching 1 through 5, and DeJounte Murray is hunting him relentlessly and often with success? Is that something you look at and say, Are they really going to try that against Milwaukee, for example, if they draw them, or another team with an elite scoring guard off the bounce? Because then it becomes, hey, Kristaps, if you're on Damian Lillard, all of a sudden, we just hope that you can run him off the line and we don't give up a kick out three off the drive afterwards or foul.
I think it's partially true. Like, I do believe that Mazzulla is psycho enough to say, we don't care about this game. We're going to test stuff that we want to see on film. Like, I believe that is something he'd do. And so I believe that is like a big part of the reason they went to it. Most of the ones that DeJounte made over Kristaps were like pretty okayly contested. Like, Kristaps was there on most of them, I would say. So I believe that Mazzulla was like, yeah, we're fine with it. We'll get it on tape. Let's see how Porzingis does. Throw him to the fire. Like that. That sounds on brand with Joe.
For what it's worth, last game on Monday, when DeAndre Hunter made the three after the rebound, Porzingis was the one that got DeJounte Murray to miss a mid-range.
Yeah,
so he did an okay job.
44 points on 44 shots.
Respect for Kobe. Tatum.
I mean,
disaster of a quote from DeJounte. It was like a big slap in the face. He's like, I know Kobe approved of this.
I mean, Joe Mazzulla after the game, like Gary Washburn was about to ask a question. He just goes, don't ask me how we defended DeJounte. It was 44 shots. We did a good job. Like, cut him off before you can even talk. So I don't know. It's a balance. Like I said, like I think you have to take away stuff from these games because that's literally our job. But at the same time, it's hard to take away when they're clearly playing at half speed for these games. We had guys in our comments that I looked at briefly that was like, this isn't an effort thing. Like, I can't see this being an effort thing. I'm like, we're talking about offensive rebounds. That's almost all effort. Like, that's almost all just finding a guy and boxing out. And so it's tough for me to make real takeaways from this. I don't know. It's hard. And I'm not saying it was good. Obviously it's bad. Like you guys are all saying in the chat, it's not fun, but it's hard for me to look at this and say, oh, the Celtics are going to be significantly affecting the playoffs by their inability to rebound when it hasn't really been a big issue for most of the season. Like, it was the last season problem in the playoffs. Like, they've been fine this year. Like, Joe Mazzulla said it to defend them. He's like, yeah, we have one of the better defensive rebounding percentages in the league. Like, we've been fine at it all year. It's just, it happens.
They haven't been. In the last minute of games, they've been terrible. I wrote about it today. They're like down. They're down almost 20% from what they're at.
That was a tough time to freeze, but yeah.
Defensive rebounding dropped to 19th in the NBA anytime it's 1 minute or less with a 3-point game.
Sure. Then fine. That is something that can be a concern in the playoffs. I didn't look into the last minute. I just looked in general.
It's okay. Yeah. I wrote it before the show today just so I would know what I was talking about. Because I was like, that's it. Because we talked about it on the playback yesterday. I was like, okay, this is actually interesting. Let me see.
I don't know. Like I said, it's hard for me to take anything away from the games where they are clearly not putting in their full effort.
And for what it's worth, rebounding could be a crapshoot. Like, I put together a bunch of clips. It's not up yet on Celtics blog, but like some of them are air balls, some of them are just weird bounces. Like, sometimes you're going to get screwed by luck on rebounds. You just are.
Like the Murray air ball. I think it's a prime example.
Correct. It's facts. But when it drops almost 20%, that's not all luck. It's like the old slogan used to say. It's not luck.
Okay, where did y'all leave off? Where are we jumping into next? I need some catch up.
Let me pull it up. A next topic that I want to go to, it's kind of in the rundown, but more like an answer within a topic, is that if they have decided to keep the switch down, like we started the show by saying that everyone wanted to see the Celtics come out and just throttle the Hawks yesterday, wire to wire win, establish your dominance from the opening tip. But if they are still of the mindset that they've accomplished everything they came to get and they're not going to play defense until the postseason, again, they lost on Monday and people thought it might change their response. Maybe Thursday changes their response for Saturday. Who knows? But if that's their mindset, then I think it makes a lot of sense to lean into that if you're the coaching staff and to give more run right now to guys from the second unit and the extended rotation, for energy, for preservation, and for just respecting that these guys have had one hell of a regular season, and it's okay to make the shifts a little bit shorter right now and to lean into the fact that they are seniors who already got into their desired colleges. And so why not give me some more O'Shea Brissett, give me some more Luke Cornett even. I know he gets some run, but you could ramp up the minutes and just go on and on down the line. Tillman, you name them. Some of these guys, Svi, who was getting run recently, before this, trip to Atlanta, I think they can kind of lean into, okay, these guys can still be sharp at practice, and then we can manage them accordingly based on what they're telling us during these final games.
Mm-hmm. I think a big part of that is weird. Like you're saying, like if they are truly, we don't care, and that's the effort thing, then like take them off the floor, don't play him. But like you understand, you want to keep him in a rhythm and stuff. And I guess if you are in a real game, you do want to win at the end of the day, like Joe always says, play the game in front of you. But then, so I guess that kind of pokes holes in the argument of, oh, they're not trying until the playoffs because Tatum played 45 minutes last night, so they're trying some, right? They're trying enough to keep him on the floor. And so at that point, are you just like, I guess you're right, pick a side, like do one or the other. Don't half other word that I can't say on Talkin' C's.
They're half stepping right now.
Thank you. Half stepping. Yeah, that works. Half step. Don't half step it until the last few minutes of the game and then panic. Like, and if anything, once you get to that point, if you're playing the guys, at least implement some different late game scenarios, which they kind of did in overtime, but they didn't. And then Joe Mazzulla said, oh, those were for two different situations. But then like clearly one worked better. So why not use that one for the other situation too? Well, that didn't make any sense to me. Joe's answers about the late game situations kind of made me angry last night. So I didn't really understand his decision.
We put that one under the microscope. We were suspect of that answer as well.
What, give JT the ball or the other one?
It's virtually an automatic miss.
Yeah, really not good. And if I wrote about it today as well, like you're setting not only the Celtics up for failure, but you're setting Tatum up for failure too, but not at least running something for him. But anyways, I agree with your point. If you're going to not try and you're going to accept that this is just playing it out until the playoffs, at least give the other guy some run. So I'll back you there. That makes sense.
Also, Jack, in important news, Michael Hilly, you are a legend. The Mikal Petrus jersey is on the way. No one expected it to be an authentic, but much love and respect that you did it. We're going to need a picture of that bad boy to appear on an episode of Talkin' C's. Love to see it, Michael.
When it comes in, DM us or email us. We'll throw it on the screen.
Shout out to Air France.
Sam, what about you? Who do you want to see get some minutes here down the stretch? Are you fine? Like, what do you make of that whole thing?
Springer.
Yeah, precisely.
If I'm even here, Springer is my answer. I would love to see Springer.
You are here. Maybe not for long because
that was unbelievable. It's like he called the shot just now.
I know. Well, he can tell when he's about to lag. But
we are past the half-hour mark. What do you want out of me? Springer is the answer. I'd like to see Springer.
Yeah.
If I'm still here, I think he's exciting. I think it would be good to get him minutes. I don't think I'm here.
You are still here.
Let's even get Jordan Walsh some reps.
Yep, he hasn't been playing a lot. I'm fine with the big guys. I'm fine with Tillman playing a little bit more, even though Jay Geisenberg gets mad at me when I tell him I want him to shoot threes. I'm fine with Drew Peterson getting some run, which he hasn't gotten all season. It sounds like J.D. Davison probably won't be getting a lot of run because he got hurt in the G League. But I'm good with these guys getting run in. Not only that, but I'm fine with them getting some run with the starters. Like, let Jordan Walsh run some minutes with Tatum and or Brown. Let Drew Peterson get some of the same Hauser minutes where he's playing next to Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis. Let these guys get integrated and play a little bit with these guys because I don't want those guys to completely sit because you want them to have a rhythm, right? But let them play with some of the big dogs, as Drew Holiday likes to say, during the regular season and throughout the course of here. So I think that's a good idea, not really one that has been explored too much. But
yeah, and I think it's more fun for Tatum and Jaylen Brown if now all of a sudden they're out there in these low-stakes situations and it's Jaden Springer alongside them or Jordan Walsh. I think that keeps them focused in the moment.
100%. I agree. Yeah. Jay-Z's, he's not full. Not a fan of Joe Mazzulla in the chat.
This is a big day for the Joe haters.
Yeah. And
Huge
I think
day.
Rightfully so. If there was any day to be mad at Joe, I think this is the day because those quotes were frustrating. And the other one, did you guys talk about the one too where he was like, oh, that Tatum play is for when we're tied. The JB one is for when we're down. Why?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part.
Why?
I did hear him. Well, I mean, the one you were mad about that was like, hey, yeah, we'll just give it to Tatum and let him do something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, he basically went on and was like, oh, yeah, those were two different plays for two different sets. When we're tied, we go to that one. And we're down one, we go to the other one. I'm like, so it sounds like you're saving the better play for when you're down one. Why not just run that when you're also tied to get the better? That it's like I don't get that logic.
Have to keep the mix.
But why take the other one out the mix though? Let Tatum
the other one out of the mix.
It's got to go out of the mix.
Scrap it. The sample size is quite large.
This is just like a weird one to like complain about the late game for me because I hated it. I hate that they lost. I hate that they ended up losing at the buzzer. But there was even growth from regulation to overtime.
It
Like it was
was growth,
better.
but it wasn't growth though. It was growth in the sense that we saw better play, but it wasn't growth in the sense that he literally admitted, yeah, but when we're tied, we're still gonna just go to Tatum. That is what he said. He was
They should
like,
just
"What?"
never go to Tatum. They actually should
This
bench
is
him.
why I'm mad.
Well,
This is
it's
why I'm
not
mad because
even
of what he said.
don't go to Tatum. It's give me something more creative than him
Do
just
something
dribbling
with
the air out
Tatum.
of the ball, taking a sidestep three, especially at the end of regulation when it's off balance with two defenders contesting. It's just not going in.
Mhm.
Jack, did you see the Tatum quote on this?
No, kind of. I saw him say, if this is the one you're referencing, he was like, I know I've missed a bunch this year. I've hit some
Yeah.
in my career, but I love being in those situations. But I thought I was due for one, man. Something like that.
Yeah, he was like, I feel like I was due. All I could see in that is just like my friends talking about gambling. Like, yeah, I was due. Like I put in the 12-leg parlay. I was due to hit. I don't think I lost faith in Joe. I just think
No.
this is a thing that
But
Joe can work on. I think
Exactly.
Joe's a good coach. I still think he's the right guy for this team. I think he's done a great job with keeping them locked in mindset wise in terms of day to day. We're going to grow. We want to improve on this. And I think from what he's telling everybody, yesterday was still an example of that, where he's like, we want to grow at defense. We want Porzingis to be able to guard guards in the playoffs. We want to be able to switch things in the playoffs. So we're going to try it. And they did it in a big spot. And if Mazzulla's philosophy is right, they're getting reps in when the game is actually on the line. Do we hate watching it? You bet. But if they're just using all these games as a practice, then Mazzulla is keeping right to his guns, and he's done exactly what he said he was going to do.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't get like why. Like Joe clearly is like, I've seen Joe have like better coaching philosophies in this. Like we've seen it. I don't get why this is where he's planting his flag. That it doesn't make any sense. The only thing I can think of, and I wrote about it, is like maybe he's just saving it for the playoffs. He's just saving it. Maybe he doesn't want to give it up. Maybe he doesn't want to show it. Right? Like
It would be
this is me.
so fire.
Yeah, this is my crazy pills.
I
Like
mean,
no, he's definitely saving it. Like I don't know, guys. Come on. But
He has like 10 plays in his back pocket that he's just like throwing out there.
That's what we have to hope, is that he is just saving it for the playoffs. That's what everyone's fingers crossed unfolds when we get there. We'll find out, though. The other thing I wonder, and it's tough when you're an assistant coach because your job is to follow the head coach's direction and carry out those orders and assist with it. But you've got Charles Lee and Sam Cassell there, two of the best. And you just wonder if someone at some point says something to Joe Mazzulla about, hey, we need to mix it up. I mean, I get that it's their first year working with Joe, but you would like to see one of them, if they feel like this is not, okay, we're saving it for the playoffs type of deal, and we're talking differently behind the scenes and maybe even getting some reps in practice of what we actually want. You got to hope that one of them says something.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, man.
Would be cool. Anyways, all right. Working our way down this list that I don't know what you've covered yet because I overslept. Did you go over Murray and Porzingis? You did, or did you cover it all?
We did do that, and that was the one I was asking you about. Where
yes,
okay, they wanted to get reps, but are they really going to go to that? And how often in a playoff setting, especially if the point guard on the other team is the prime example, I think, is Damian Lillard in the East, where that just feels really difficult for the Celtics to get a win in that scenario on a given possession.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is an issue they ran into last year with the Hawks. Like last year with the Hawks, they just did exactly what they did in this one. They attacked Al Horford, and it resulted in bad. Like it didn't look very good in that game. So I do wonder if they'll go to it or if they'll stay home. But
this message from Tom is just a oxymoron. Like it is just a catch-22. It's like, Joe's not the guy who's shooting bricks. Why is Tatum shooting the bricks? Someone is telling them what to do, but also the players still have to go out there and do it. Like it is just a never-ending like back and forth. Where's the blame? Where's the blame? Where's the blame? And it's just like, I'm sick of it. Please just make these shots so we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And JZZ comes back with, why isn't Joe taking the ball out of JC's hands to go ISO? My dream scenario, which I don't know what happened. I don't know if you guys watched the last 3 minutes of the game. I'm talking to chat here. Chat, the last 3 minutes of the game, they ran this play where they did it like 4 different times, and it worked almost every time. And then they just didn't do it on the last play of the game. Like the last play of the game last night in Atlanta was the perfect example of you have 24 seconds to run anything you want. You had a full shot clock. You can get anything you want. Nah, we're good. Tatum ISO. Let's run.
Is that
and
the
like
horns action?
it is, yeah. Maybe Joe's theory is we'll take this Tatum shot and then we'll win better in overtime because we're the better team anyways. But
the last thing you want for the Celtics is extra minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing good can really come from playing in overtime in a meaningless game if you're the Celtics. And
it is true.
But I mean, to your point, Jack, and you can go into it as much or as little as you want because I know you wrote about it. Those horn sets, I talked about one of my favorite plays from the night being the action in overtime where Porzingis gets it and they get it to Jaylen Brown there because things went wrong and they were able to find a good shot and get a bucket. But I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Sam laughing right now. But
it's impossible. Whenever Sam's laugh when you're talking, I always like, what am I always want to just stop what I'm saying and say, what's so funny?
Right. Well, you gotta look to the chat because you assume it's related to that. I mean, look at that. He's dying over there.
Messages.
He's incapable.
He's dying over there. Yeah. Another one of the plays that I love that they ran in crunch time was out of a horn set where multiple people touch the ball. There's activity from those who don't have it. They end up with a cut for Jaylen Brown, who gets the ball at the basket. It's a tough look, and rather than forcing it, he kicks it out to a Derek White 3, and he drills it. So it's inside-out basketball. It's movement with and without the rock. It's a chance to get 2 points at the rim, and it's an open 3 in rhythm for Derek White. That's something that they can do consistently. They certainly have the talent and the experience to execute that over and over again, no matter what set they're running. You just need to see more of it from them in crunch time, especially because we were talking at the beginning of the show, Jack, that when we talk about crunch time and the final 5 minutes, that's too broad for what we're hitting on with this team, that it's more the closer and closer you get to the buzzer, especially that last minute.
Definitely. What were you laughing at? Would you share now?
You can look in the text messages and tell me if I should share now.
Oh, God. I didn't realize this was like text.
Yeah.
No, do not share that on the stream.
Okay,
no, of course not. Why?
Well, that's why I asked you.
Why would you don't even have to ask. You should know we should not share that on the
You're
stream.
Wild, Sam. You are wild.
That's what we're talking about.
Let's see. I agree with this. JT can make the right play, but not by himself. 100%. I also agree with this. No end of the game closing out possessions will encapsulate that because there was a lot of rebounds. Also doesn't help. And this was also a problem in the first Hawks game. The defense was just set on every play because the Celtics could get anything. It also doesn't help that they walk the ball up whenever they do get a stop, and then they let the defense get set anyways. And at the same time, with all due respect, JZ, I agree with this part of what you're saying, but like, we're acting like we found one thing that we can disagree with Mazzulla is, and we're taking it and fire him. Like, every coach has stuff that they're bad at. Let's not do this. Like, there's no perfect coach in the NBA outside of like maybe Spoelstra and maybe Pop, right? But then you're talking about two of the 15 greatest coaches ever to walk the face of the earth. Like, sorry, the Celtics didn't find one of those guys.
Also, Spoelstra was like under fire for his first couple years when the big three got there, and it was like, is this the guy for them? I don't know. They should maybe fire him, and they stuck with him, and now obviously he's Spo. So like, I don't know, man. Joe's still like young in his coaching career. There is a big responsibility with coaching this Celtics team where it's like, hey, they have gone all in, time to win. But
also,
I think he's done a good job at that. Like,
this is what I'm saying.
He's
like,
and also talking about things that happened last night late in the game, DeJounte Murray acting like he was shot after getting the ball back on the perimeter and then getting free throws from it kind of sucked.
That did also suck. And also isn't giving him adequate deflection. Like, again, you're looking at one single thing. They've expanded their defensive coverages this year. They've added new plays. They've gone to the post more. They've done all these other things. And I understand why we're focusing on this one issue because it's a big issue going into the playoffs. But I don't like, let's not act like Joe hasn't brought other good things to the table too. But it's just easier to ignore those because when they work, it looks like the players are succeeding at it, and it's not Joe's thing, right? That is the only reason we're not appreciating Joe for it. But Joe has done a lot of good things. We've got a project for coach. No, JZZ, I agree with what you're saying, but you're taking it like a mile too far. He has one thing that he needs to work on, like significant thing. This one thing is something that I think he needs to be different at. And to Philip's point, like, I think Joe probably knows better than all of us. Like, he is
That's
the head
true.
coach of the NBA
Yes.
for a reason. And so there is probably something, even though I disagree with him about what he said last night about the Tatum thing, like, there is a method to his madness, and I believe that.
In 3 months, he could be the GOAT. Plain and simple.
But Bobby, I will say you sit impressively still to the point where I thought you were frozen.
I mean, I was thinking about some stuff outside of the show.
He's sitting there stewing. He's just getting mad sitting there.
The chamber is loading up.
Oh my Lord. My God.
If you had just asked me, like, hey, what do you think about that, without giving me what that was, I would have been like, yeah, I agree, fellas.
I love it. I love it. Joe Mazzulla will either be a GOAT in 3 months or out of a job. I don't agree with that either. I think the most important thing with the Celtics team is consistency. They haven't had a consistent coach in 4 years. It's the first time they've had the same coach in 2 years in a row in 4 years. I think they need that. I think they need the same face to work with the same thing. So 100%. Yeah. Bobby, anything else you wanted to talk about before trivia? Did you guys, sorry, I feel like the worst because I overslept. Did you guys get to the need to switch a flip? Need to flip a switch. Oh, that was fun for the playoffs.
That one we did not get to. That's a good kind of like buy or sell game of, do they have to get back to caring about defense before the playoffs? There's going to be time off because of the play-in tournament as well. So there's kind of an extended break so we'll see if they need to regain their edge on that side. Or do you think, Sam, we can start with you, that it's as simple as between practice reps and just flipping a switch when the playoffs arrives, that on defense specifically, they'll be just fine if they wait out the regular season?
See, I feel like they have a couple games here where it can be like, we're going to try today, like fully, like we're committed. This is like a playoff situation. We need to win. I think playing against OKC is going to be a big one. That's a team that's beat you already. Then after that, you have Sacramento coming to town, who's also a good team. You need to try and take something from these games. If you want to talk about practice, if you're Joe Mazzulla, that's absolutely fine. I think there is value in trying things out. But that can be a situation where you're trying out, see how well your switch works. Does your switch flip properly? Are all the wires connected? Does everything work? Or do you still have things you need to work on? Because when the playoffs roll around, there's not going to be room for this. Atlanta's a team you could play in the first round, and you just lost 2 games to them in a row. If they lose 2 games in the first round this year, I don't know what to tell you. Unless Embiid comes back and they end up playing them, that's actually like a series. But aside from that, there's not a whole lot of games they should be losing early in the playoffs. You just can't have that. There is another level that this team should be able to go to. And I think playing seriously in some of these bigger games coming down the stretch is going to be part of that, getting them back up to speed.
Sorry. For some reason, I thought I was going to Bobby.
That's okay.
I'm completely and utterly disjointed today. Apologies. Like I said, like when I was talking about, like, it's just impossible for me to take anything from these games, because I am truly of the belief that the Celtics are just waiting until the playoffs. And so if I'm following my own logic there, that does mean I think they will turn it up for the playoffs, which I do. I do think they'll come down into the playoffs ready to play. I do think that I don't want to call it sleepwalking, because I don't think they'll sleepwalk through the first round. I think it'll be we're going to expand the rotation a little bit the first round. We're not going to play just 7 guys against the Hawks or whoever they play, or probably go out to 9. We'll give Hauser and Pritchard a little run. Then and maybe even like throw Brissett in there for 5 minutes a game. And then I'll get to the second round, and then Brissett will be cut out, and Pritchard and Hauser will get a little less. And then they'll keep going, and then going and going and going. And I think that'll how they'll play the okay, we're taking tonight, quote unquote, off game. I don't think it'll actually be like that, but I can't see a world where these guys who have made it so clear that they're only focusing on the game in front of them, but they understand the larger goal, are going to get to the playoffs and then play like this. I refuse to believe that. That goes against everything they've preached all season. And people aren't even giving them a chance to get there and show that, because they're mad at 2 March losses, which I get it. Frustrating March losses. That's not what I'm saying, but like March losses nonetheless. So that's where I stand on that. Any final thoughts, Bobby, before we do get to trivia? Because now that I'm finally caught up and understand what we're doing.
Sam with a snipe just now.
Yeah,
What?
just caught him sitting there stewing again.
Oh, Bobby. Oh,
Yeah, you nailed that one.
I was in another tab looking at a trivia question, so I thought you were laughing at me. I couldn't tell.
No. I thought Bobby was going to say something, so I was letting him I was giving him the space, and he's just sitting there fired up in his head, like fucking. Oh, I'm sorry. You can cut that.
That's okay.
That's for editor Jack right there.
I deserve it.
No, I think we hit on everything. I think that we are ready for trivia.
Alrighty, let me load it up. I had it loaded, but I was fiddling with some other stuff, testing out to see if I could find a better question. But I think I like the one that I found. So let me confirm that I have it. Yeah. Okay.
How about Jack Golke going to the Barstool headquarters in the Scary Terry t-shirt?
Very funny.
He said
Fresh.
Paul Pierce was his favorite player. So
Respect. Maybe he's got a future on some pods.
yeah,
Probably not right now though. He's probably too hot right now. A couple months will be like, hey, remember this guy? He's on the.
That's why I
pod.
think he's got to strike now. You can't let that
True.
momentum cool off.
It's true. Sam, you have some
Hold
catching
on.
up to do. You're
Got
down
it.
0-3. Please close.
I have work to do.
Close the comments, please, if you are
They
still
are
looking at
closed.
them. Today, fellas, we are going to be doing most minutes played by a Celtic in a single playoff run since 2000. So the total minutes accumulated in a playoff run since 2000. Again, if we are taking, we'll use Pritchard because I doubt anybody's going to guess him. If we're taking Pritchard's playoff runs, we're going to take the top Pritchard playoff run since 2000, use that. Then Pritchard is off the board, obviously. So most minutes played by Celtic in a single playoff run. You don't have to give me the year or anything, but I'll mark it down. And yeah, Bobby, I believe you are kicking things off here. So hit me.
Give me the question one more time.
Most minutes played by a Celtic in a single playoff run. So, i.e., the 20 plus or 10 plus games they play in a single playoffs, the most cumulative minutes. So, like these answers, like Pritchard could have played like 500 something minutes in a playoff run, something like that, right? That's again, I'm using Pritchard because
yeah, I got you.
Spoiler alert, you probably shouldn't guess Pritchard. It's not great.
First guess, Peyton. No, I'm just kidding. Paul Pierce.
Alrighty, Paul Pierce. Bobby. 991.
Kevin Garnett.
Garnett. 988. Pretty good. That's a pretty good start, fellas. Good job. No, they don't have to give the season, RJ, just the player, and I'll take the highest one of the last 20 years. Is this more stewing or is this thinking?
No. This is related to trivia.
Different stewing.
We've moved on from the stew. We're out of the kitchen. I will go with Rajon Rondo.
Rajon Rondo gets you. Sorry, there's a lot of names. Please don't read into my body language. Even though
I'm reading into it.
Absolutely will. I know.
I'm reading into it.
974.
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen.
Those are obviously the two that I was between just now.
987.
That's a shame. Jason Tatum.
$985.
Jalen.
Of course.
922.
Oh, that's awful. This is a catastrophe.
Al Horford.
Al Horford gets you 815.
This is where it gets good.
This is where you guys have found the drop off. Good work, everybody. Yeah, let's get a round of applause for the guys for finding the cutoff in minutes. After the Sam guess, I am going to take a pause just so I can add everything up and you guys have an idea of where you're standing.
Sounds good.
Oh man. Trying to make sure like I'm not having just complete missing things in my mind of these playoff runs. This is awful. This might be a really bad guess, but I'm going to guess Perk.
Perk. All right, let's see. $6.30.
Sure was.
All right, let me add these up. Let y'all know where you stand. All right, hold please. Please filibuster if you don't mind. Or stew some more, whatever works.
This is going to be another loss for me.
I mean, you can see the obvious strategy is it's about the finals.
Yes.
Ready. You're not as far behind as you may think. That is a significant gap, but it just takes one subpar guess, I suppose, and one real guess. So, but
Marcus
we'll see,
Smart.
All righty.
Well, this one I feel good about.
Oh, that's not what I want to
He missed games.
I know, but he got a lot of minutes when available.
Well,
7:59. Yeah, and unfortunately,
That's
I think
it.
that was that was the next highest answer on the board.
Really?
All right, that's a sweep. Unfortunate.
Yeah, call it a day. I don't even
Tough.
want to put another guess.
All righty. Sorry, everybody. I can share the screen of what I was looking at. This is the
Let me look.
The board. Other names up there. There's a steep drop off after from the Tatum and the big three to Jaylen Brown.
Walker.
There's a drop off, and then Horford. There's another drop off, but Smart's there, Walker's there, Terry's there in 17-18.
Wow.
But yeah, Grant's there.
Really would have thought Perk played more minutes.
I thought that was a really good guess at the time because he didn't get hurt until Game 6.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Why did I get lumped in? What did I do? It's like then he said F Indy. What did he say F me for? What did I do?
Why am I getting Michael Hilly? Everyone else is the ops.
What the heck? What did I do? Oh man. Alrighty. Yeah, this is definitely rings true. 2008, 2010, 2022, the best years, 100%. The first season or listed on here that's not from those is actually 16th, 12th, which is higher up than I thought. Tatum played 800 minutes last year in 22-23. So that's the first one of those 3 years on here. Anyways, I agree, John. I'm with you. Alrighty. We can wrap it up there. Bobby, any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
Yeah, I think we're all good.
Alrighty. Sorry again, chat, for being late. This is like my Achilles heel. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't wake up to alarms. It sucks. It's brutal. And I always feel bad because I don't want to leave these guys hanging. But apologies.
The hell's Henry at today?
Working. Loser has a job.
Time for him to get unemployed.
For the
That's
record,
what I'm saying.
This is like the first time that Jack's not been on time. He still was here for most of the show. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It just I just don't like it because I don't like not being here. It annoys me. But
he came in, he made his presence felt. He gave good answers.
With all due respect, Michael,
you act like I don't. Question, by the way.
You act like I don't. It was about to ring on the show if I didn't cancel it in time. Like they were all like ready. Chat, don't like this is not a I forget to set the alarm problem. This is a I don't wake up to the alarm problem. This isn't a problem of I don't have them. The calling won't work too either. We've tried that. It's not a matter of calling. It's just I don't
You think I haven't called Jack? There was one day I called Jack like 30 times.
I just don't wake up to loud noises, man. It's bad. Anyways, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out Bobby's work at sa.com/NBA/Celtics, and I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you give Bobby a follow on Twitter at Bobby Kravitsky. Like Jack said, you can find him putting in the work for Inside the Celtics, part of SI Media. He's on the beat. He's great for your coverage, so you definitely want to keep up with him. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. We're coming at you with something new every day at 5, whether it's a full pod on Tuesday, Thursday, or Sunday, a game recap the day after a game, something else, breaking down a rumor, film, whatever it may be. You can also find these Talkin C's streams live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. or around then. Spotify and Apple, Our full pods and game recaps are there too, audio only. So if you like that, you can follow us. Leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that. You can find us via email. hbtcpod@gmail.com is the address. We are doing a recording tomorrow, so I'm sure you have something to say after yesterday's loss. So definitely email us. You can find us on socials at How About Them C's, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Facebook is just the name of the podcast. Our streams are there. They're on YouTube, and they're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at JackSmoneyNBA. Mine is at Sam LaFrance NBA. Again, Bobby's is at Bobby Kravitsky. That's it for us.